Tonight on the program, we look into the unemployment rate in Thailand and why it's getting more difficult for new graduates to find jobs. And as people place higher importance on having a work-life balance, will 4-day work weeks really work in Thailand and Southeast Asia? สวัสดีค่ะ I'm Nad Bunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. We begin the program tonight with the issue related to unemployment. Unemployment in Thailand remains a huge problem, and recently Nasdaq has revealed that about 401,000 people are jobless in Thailand. Our business anchor Frank Hanshi is joining us in the studio to explain more. So Frank, what does this indicate and what does it mean for the overall Thai economy?
So Ned, we see a good news here because the unemployment rate here fell slightly from 1.07% in Q2, and in Q3 this quarter it's 1.02% here. So it means that, of course, companies and businesses, they have more room, more budget to hire more people. But if we want to see if Thailand's economy is really growing, we have to include more data. One significant data we have to talk about is high household debt, because high household debt right now, actually it fell a little bit from over 90% here, and right now in Q2 2024 is 89.6% here. But this particularly high figure has already affected Thailand's domestic purchasing power. It means that people couldn't pay a lot because they don't have a lot of cash in hand, and companies, they cannot have revenues like before. But this is kind of like a domino effect there, because companies' revenues, people's spending and future hiring trend are all connected. And another important figure we have to talk about is NPL, which is non-performing loan here. Non-performing loan means that, of course, you can see non-performing loan from 8.01% to 8.48%. This is quite high because the risky level is at 10%. It's already quite close. And this detrimental development for Thailand's economy might affect the loans application because, of course, some people, they think that those figures we talk about is quite distant for them, but as 50% of auto loans have been rejected by banks. And we have to link this together all with the unemployment rate, because if the high household debt maintained at a high level, NPL continues to rise, it means that, of course, we can see more layoff and an increase in idle labor in the market. So, of course, for now, however, the situation still appears stable with just more than 400,000 people unemployed. And I believe that, of course, the government and the authority have approaches to help people on the ground. But more importantly is that how Paetongtarn's administration can push Thailand's GDP to 3% at this year and next year in 2025. And we have to see, of course, economists and people on the ground want to see Thailand growing further compared to other countries. So 3% is a very difficult target for the government, Ned.
And we got to say that this is going to be a very difficult task for the Paetongtarn administration.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Frank. And among the 400,000 people who are reportedly unemployed also include new graduates, indicating that they are struggling to find work. Our reporter Warisara Sahan investigates why this is a real problem and how it reflects on the current education system.
A report by the National Economic and Development Council suggests that new graduates, especially Gen Z and Gen Y, will face difficulties finding employment in Thailand. One of the reasons is that curricula and skills in many universities do not align with the demands of a constantly changing job market.
I'm quite worried, yeah, because lately in this, I don't want to say generation, but have to at this point. If you're like unemployed, right, fresh out of your bachelor's degree, I feel like if you're going into like companies, they always require like at least 18 to 20 years of experience.
กังวลครับผมเพราะว่างานสมัยนี้หัวหน้าเขาจะรับคนที่มีประสบการณ์ส่วนใหญ่ทัศนคติของเด็ก Gen Y กับเด็ก Gen Z กับผู้ใหญ่เนี่ยไม่เหมือนกัน
In this era of emerging of technology and generative AI, employers and organizations are able to reduce human resource costs. Workers that they would prefer to hire need to be competent employees. In Thailand, however, most universities require internships in degree programs, which last at least 2 months or up to a year. For their students who only have work experience as an intern, it might not be enough to get hired by a big corporation.
อย่างบริษัทต่างชาติบริษัทหนึ่งเวลาเขาจะเตรียมความพร้อมของคนเนี่ยเวลาฝึกงานเขาฝึกงานเป็นปีเลยนะฝึกงานเป็นปีเลยแต่ถามว่าจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยในประเทศไทยจะมีลักษณะรูปแบบนี้นะที่ออกมาจากระบบการศึกษาเนี่ยหรือยกโรงเรียนมาที่ทำงานเป็นปี2 ปีแบบนี้มันหายากนะ
According to the Department of Labor Protection and Welfare, internship in Thailand is just a part of educational programs, which means employers don't have to pay the interns. And some companies only provide a limited number of positions. Bawonan sees this is an area in which the government can provide support by subsidizing incentives for businesses and organizations.
ลองนึกภาพดิใช้จ้างงานคนอายุ60 ปีขึ้นไปคนชรายังมีสิทธิ์ลดหย่อนแล้วทำไมจ้างเด็กฝึกงานจะไม่มีสิทธิ์ลดหย่อนถ้าเป็นแบบนี้มันก็จะอะไรฮะมันก็จะเป็นการเร่งในการที่ทำให้น้องๆที่กำลังจะเข้าสู่ตลาดแรงงานมีประสบการณ์จริงในหน้างาน
He encourages the government to focus more on tailoring their skill sets to industry requirements, adding that Thailand has no shortage of workers but lacks skilled employees.
สิ่งหนึ่งที่สำคัญก็คือตอนนี้องค์กรเนี่ยมันการแข่งขันมันแรงเร็วต้องปรับตัวเร็วคำถามคือบางทีมันรอไม่ได้ไงคุณต้องทำให้ตัวการเรียนรู้ในระบบการศึกษาเป็นการเรียนรู้จากของจริงไม่ใช่เป็นการเรียนรู้ที่สอนในสิ่งที่โลกไม่ต้องการ
Warisala Sehan reporting for Thai PBS World.
And would you favor a 4-day work week or do you prefer working 5 days a week as usual? A recent survey reveals that most Thai employees are keen to work 4 days a week, but employers are quite hesitant to adopt the new schedule. The country manager of a recruitment firm said that employees in Thailand and in Hong Kong have expressed positive reactions to the 4-day work week, but this approach may not be practical in Vietnam.
While European countries are piloting 4-day working week programs, employees in Thailand may have to wait up to 2 years for its implementation. Country manager of a leading global recruitment agency told Thai PBS World that 95% of Thai professionals are ready to try a 4-day working week, but Thai employers remain hesitant to adopt the new schedule. Although employees might become more productive with this arrangement, Punyanu pointed out that such a change may not be applicable to all sectors.
I think it also depends on the industry as well. If you are in retail where you need to really service customer almost like 24/7 to really implement 4-day will not really be a good positive impact for both company and also customer. But if you are in the industry that you can really working from anywhere, that might be feasible as well. And I think another concern is when we from after COVID, right? When we actually working from home in the office 3-day or 4-day, I think a lot of HR and also employer think that maybe it's not enough. And the trend in Thailand that we saw is that the number of days that the employer asks employee to come back is increasing.
In addition to the trend, Punyanu noted that professionals might face greater challenges if the 4-day working week is implemented. Salaries could be reduced and employees' benefits compromised. For companies, solutions to address workforce shortages and delays in project completion are required.
The employee also may wonder whether it's 4 day, meaning they will get paid 4 day or not, or even like they actually get a chance to work 4 day. But if the amount of work that is remaining is still maybe 5 day, so how can they actually make it fit within 4 days? So meaning like even though the company asks that you can do 4 day, but the expectation that they need to deliver maybe need to shorten the project, meaning like the timeline of everything will be shortened and they will need to really working long hour in that 4 day.
Professionals in Asia share similar degrees of expectations for the new work schedule. In Hong Kong, 94% of employees find the schedule feasible, while 74% in Malaysia believe it could boost productivity. Puyanu say that, however, 4-day work week may not be suitable for every Southeast Asian market.
I think different country have different way and culture as well. Like for example in Vietnam, right? I believe during COVID time, like not a lot of company actually moved to working from home mode. Yeah, so meaning like they still working in the office. Majority would be 5 day, for example. So like to really like thinking about 4-day work week, it's gonna be a very new concept compared to the country that like comfortable with working like from home already. So there's a degree of like familiarity. I think in Vietnam it's actually like not as that level. Yeah, so like 88% of the professional will think that is feasible, right? Which is actually like not that high compared to Thailand. So, and I think like Malaysia, when I actually like talk to our counterpart and also like client that actually like have office in Malay, we know that like they start to ask people to come back working in the office more than in Thailand, and also Indonesia and Korea as well.
Even though many more people are more willing to work only 4 days a week, but we have to admit that this may not be applicable to all industries, including the media. And now let's have a look at the other stories in our weekly roundup. At least 4 construction workers were killed and about 10 others injured when a concrete beam and a crane on the construction site of an elevated motorway collapsed onto the Rama 2 road in Samut Sakhon early this morning. The accident has forced the complete closure of the Rama 2 road, and motorists are now being diverted to other routes. Thailand's southernmost province of Yala experiences the worst flooding in 30 years. 13 districts in Narathiwat and 6 districts in Pattani have been declared flood disaster zones. 2 people in Pattani have died, one by drowning and the other electrocuted. More than 240 investors have filed police complaints claiming that they have been defrauded by Dr. Bunwanasin, founder of the Thonburi Healthcare Group, out of a combined 7.6 billion baht. Multiple charges have already been filed against him, his ex-wife, his daughter, and 6 other associates, including defrauding the public, money laundering, and violations of the Check Act. Former deputy spokesman for the Palang Pracharat Party, Sama Jenchaichitwanit, has been arrested in Chiang Rai on money laundering charges. The arrest and charges come after it was discovered that the allegedly extorted money was transferred to his mother's bank account before being further transferred to his account. Samat quit the Palang Pracharat Party on October 25th to avoid being sacked by the party for his involvement with the Icon Group. Now let's turn to this issue. 6 Thai citizens remain captive in Gaza as officials work tirelessly for their release. Meanwhile, hopes for progress come at a time of diplomatic challenges, including the return of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency. Here's the latest update.
6 Thai citizens remain as hostages in Gaza, with ongoing efforts by Thai authorities to secure their release. Since the conflict began in October 2023, Thailand has managed to bring 23 hostages home thanks to a brief ceasefire. Thai officials are hopeful that another ceasefire could free the remaining hostages, though there's currently no sign of new negotiations. Meanwhile, there is information about the hostages in Gaza. According to Associate Professor Panithan Wattanayakon, negotiators have struggled for nearly a month to reach hostages held by Hamas due to the complex and fractured command structure of Hamas on the ground.
For Thailand, there is maybe another complication. I think the ministries of labor and foreign affairs need to verify some of these names again with teams like the president of the parliament of Thailand who helped negotiating the release, that who really are on the official list, of hostages who are not. Of course, we have a lot of Thai workers still in Israel, numbers in thousands. So in the verification of these, names and lists, maybe the conflicting, reports are coming from that also, from different teams. So I think so far we still hope and rely on the official accounts, of the ministries of foreign affairs and Ministry of Labor, and we still count on the returning of the remaining hostages until otherwise noticed. The Israeli forces should know very much who's who. For example, these American hostages also are now identified. It will be more difficult to release them also. But in our case, I think we need to work harder, to secure the transparency and the return of these hostages.
Meanwhile, Assistant Professor Manoj Ari suggested that Donald Trump's presidency could reshape the hostage release talks, offering space for negotiation, unlike Biden's firm support for Israel.
อย่างที่ทราบกันว่าถ้าเป็นไบเดนเนี่ยคือพูดอย่างเดียวนะแล้วบางทีพูดแล้วทำอีกแบบหนึ่งพูดอย่างทำอีกแบบทำอีกอย่างนะดังนั้นเวลาเขาพูดถึงเรื่องของตัวประกันเนี่ยว่าอิสราเอลต้องระมัดระวังเรื่องตัวประกันหรือฮามาสต้องปล่อยตัวประกันเนี่ยแต่ในทางปฏิบัติเราเห็นว่าไบเดนสนับสนุนอาวุธเต็มที่ถล่มเลยนะมันย้อนแย้งใช่ไหมแต่พอมาโดนัลด์ทรัมป์เนี่ยนะครับผมคิดว่าด้านหนึ่งเนี่ยโดนัลด์ทรัมป์จะพยายามให้สงครามมันยุตินะฮะมันจะทำให้สถานการณ์เนี่ยค่อยๆดีขึ้นนะครับคือถ้าเราคาดหวังนะว่าโดนัลด์ทรัมป์มาจะทำให้สงครามยุติเลยเนี่ยนะครับคงเป็นไปได้ยาก
For Associate Professor Panithan, the structure of the conflict may not allow Donald Trump to negotiate for peace quickly, especially in the Middle East.
Quite clear the new appointments of key people in the new Trump administration, ranging from the foreign affairs or the State Department, secretary, the ambassadors to the United Nations, CIA director, Homeland, secretary, all have a record of supporting Israel quite, strongly. Some of them even went very far against Palestinians, as you see in the reports. So, in principle, I think they may agree to push toward peace through negotiation. But in practice, some of these new coming leaders or administrators may end up supporting more in terms of financial and military to Israel. I think this is one of the problems.
An expert says, however, there's still a hope for peace in the region through negotiations for a permanent ceasefire.
แต่ถ้าทำดำเนินการจริงๆเนี่ยถ้ามันมีสัญญาเรียกว่าสัญญาหยุดยิงและสงบศึกแบบถาวรไม่ใช่แค่2 วันอย่างที่อิสราเอลเสนอก็มีความเป็นไปได้สูงเลยครับที่ตัวประกันจะถูกแลกเปลี่ยนและถ้าเป็นคนไทยก็ต้องส่งกลับไทยเพราะงั้นตรงนี้เนี่ยก็ต้องดูว่าเมื่อต้องรอเดือนมกราเนาะประมาณ20 มกรามั่งสาบานตัวว่าตอนนั้นเมื่อทรัมป์ขึ้นมาเป็นประธานาธิบดีแล้วเนี่ยจะดำเนินการอย่างไรในการทำให้อิสราเอลจับมือหยุดยิงกับฮามาส
Kittipat Sukhjit, reporting for Thai PBS World.
And now we explore the life of a Thai Filipino drag queen as she talks about her views of the LGBTQ culture in Thailand and how do drag queens play a role in LGBTQ rights.
As darkness begins to envelop this vibrant place in Siloam, these women ready themselves to set the stage of bliss with a show like no other. The dressing room buzzes with energy as drag queens transform into larger-than-life icons. One of the most sought-after queens in Bangkok is Gigi Ferocious. Known for her bold and fearless performances, Gigi has captured the hearts of drag fans. Gigi's journey to the spotlight began not in the club, but as a backup dancer.
พอเป็นแดนเซอร์ปุ๊บรู้สึกว่ามันก็ยังไม่ค่อยใช่เพราะว่าเราด้วยความที่เราเป็นเฟมินีนเราอยากเต้นในความที่เป็นเฟมินีนเราไม่อยากเต้นเป็นมาสคูลีนแต่ว่าในสมัยก่อนนั้นนะวงการแดนเซอร์ไทยเขาต้องการที่จะแบบว่าผู้ชายคือผู้ชายผู้หญิงคือผู้หญิง
That search for identity took an unexpected turn when a simple social media post showcasing her makeup skills caught the attention of someone in the drag scene. And this is where Gigi found her calling, performing songs of her idols Beyonce and Rihanna with extravagant makeup and towering heels on. She also felt that her distinct look gave her an advantage to advance her career in the drag industry. Gigi is half Filipino, half Thai.
เราเป็นคนอย่าว่าพูดว่าผิวสีทุกคนอาจจะพูดว่าดำมันหยาบแต่สำหรับเราว่ามันไม่หยาบแล้วตอนนี้คือดำก็คือดำขาวคือขาวอย่ามาบอกว่าเราเป็นผิวสีคือไม่ใช่
Her talent has taken her across borders, performing on international stage where she feels her artistry is truly appreciated. Gigi is part of the third season of Drag Race Thailand, a popular show among drag queens worldwide.
Behind the glitz, glamour, and dazzling performances, Thailand's drag industry stands as a vibrant symbol of art, culture, and resilience.
While the stage celebrates individuality, their performances also echo a broader message that true equality is a right. The drag industry has become a powerful cultural and political force in the fight for LGBTQIA+ rights. And this is what Gigi and her fellow queens are advocating for.
เราจะออกไปชุมนุมกันออกไปแต่งตัวออกไปทำอะไรเนี่ยเพื่อเรียกร้องให้รู้ว่าในโลกใบนี้มันไม่ได้มีแค่เฉดสีเดียวมันมีหลายเฉดสีมากๆเลยมีทั้งผู้ชายผู้หญิงมีทั้งเกย์มีทั้งทอมมีทั้งอะไรต่างๆแล้วก็เป็นส่วนหนึ่งที่ช่วยในการขับเคลื่อนสร้างความเข้าใจที่ถูกต้องให้กับสังคมค่ะ
By celebrating self-expression and challenging societal norms, the drag industry continues to play a transformative role in fostering acceptance, fighting for rights, and uniting the LGBTQIA+ community and its allies.
ความเป็นแดรกควีนมันไม่จำเป็นจะต้องเป็นเกย์เท่านั้นแต่ว่ามันสามารถเป็นได้ทั้งผู้หญิงผู้ชายเด็กสูงวัยหรือว่าได้หมดคือ everything สามารถเป็นได้หมดเพราะว่าเราอยาก represent ความเป็นตัวของเราเนาะ
Bea Bernardo, Thai PBS World.
Now let's talk about the use of AI. As businesses are rapidly adopting the use of AI to enhance efficiency, governments need to establish regulations to protect people from its malicious use. Frank Hashi spoke with Indonesia's former finance minister about how to create an agile bureaucracy to address the challenges posed by AI growth.
So the first question, we talk about artificial intelligence. How do you see the role of reshaping the business, reshaping the workplace, and especially the banking industry in Indonesia? How do you see that this evolving technology really transform the banking industry?
Well, this is definitely something that will change the landscape of the business, not only in the banking sector, but I think in all other businesses as well. Yeah, for example, that the positive sides is we will see a significant improvement on the issue of the efficiency, the economic efficiency, the productivity, and then also the OPEX, the operating costs, will decline significantly. So I think this on the positive note, I would say that this will have a very positive impact on the increasing the productivity. But we need to be more careful about it, about the short-term impact and also the implication. The first one is the question about the ability for some companies, also countries, to adopt this AI, because this will require a significant improvement of the quality of the human capital. The second aspect is the challenge for the regulators, because with the AI, the product cycle is getting shorter and shorter. If the government launches the policy, it's probably going to last only about 6 months or 1 year, because after that is no longer relevant. Yeah, the solution to it is we should have the agile bureaucracy.
Yeah, 2 points are very important. You talk about, of course, it's the reskilling, upskilling programs that the company or maybe the private sector and public sector can help the workforce in the society to get more ability to use or to utilize the artificial intelligence. Another point, of course, agile bureaucracy. This is very important. But do you think that's practical then? Because, of course, you were the finance minister, you were working in finance ministry. Do you think that agility part is practical, is feasible to, of course, to incorporate the artificial intelligence in public sector or even in private sector too?
We have to do it because the public will have an access for the AI as well.
Yeah.
So if you issue a regulation, then people can easily, we can see whether your regulation is consistent or not. So somehow, in the public sector, public opinion, we need to adopt the AI as well. The thing is, as I said, as a regulator, it's not easy to amend your law immediately, right?
Yes.
Because the product cycle is you need to go to the parliament, you need to sort of do the socialization, etc. So that is why I think when the government issue the regulation, it should be on the principle base. Otherwise, you need to amend the law every time, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of producing law, we just focus on the principal issue rather than the agree on rules.
The potential escalating trade war between two superpowers there might affect the economic growth in Southeast Asia. And as in, of course, Indonesia's new president, President Prabowo Subianto, there to talk about a GDP growth of 8% to become a high-income country. And Thailand, of course, is aiming at a high-income country status by 2030. But actually, World Bank told me that Thailand needs 7% GDP growth per year until 2030. So do you think this goal is practical? And if we really have to achieve that goal, what should the ASEAN do?
Sure. I couldn't agree more with you, because let me talk in the perspective, like in the case of Indonesia. Yeah, we grew around 5% in the last 10 years, which is pretty good from the perspective of the global standard. But I would say this 5% is not enough, because by 2050, Indonesia will start to enter the aging population.
Yes.
Similar to many countries in Southeast Asia, I believe. So before you enter the aging population, it is very important you accumulate wealth. Otherwise, there is a risk that to get old, too old to get rich. Then become very difficult. That is why you need to accelerate the economic growth. In the case of Thailand, you mentioned about 7%. In the case of Indonesia, it should go around above 6, 7, or even 8% by the end of administration. Now the question is, how can we reach this 8% economic growth? In the case of Indonesia, it really depends so much on the investment. My estimate is if Indonesia would like to accelerate the economic growth by 8%, we need the ratio investment over GDP around 50%. 50 to 54%. So I'm talking about 12,000 trillion, a significant amount. Nowadays, our investment over GDP is around 37%. So we need to increase the investment over GDP significantly. The challenge is our gross domestic saving is only about 36% of GDP. So definitely what the government needs to do to achieve this 8% economic growth is they have to open to the foreign investment, because we don't have enough domestic resources.
We have to say that AI is disrupting every single industry, including governance. And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media and our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates about Thailand as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ